Hi there, it's me, the biggest monster of all, AI Ethan. On today's episode of I Need to See That, we are talking monster movies. Yahoo!
I have a list of the top 5 highest grossing monster horror movies of all time, and I want you two to guess what they are. Okay?
Okay.
Highest grossing monster movies of all time.
So this is how I define monster movie.
Oppenheimer.
We have your class. No, okay.
Detective
Yes,
Pikachu.
fine. Okay. Okay. Here's how I define monster horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
I have classic monsters like Dracula, Frankenstein, skeletons, like your classic Halloween costumes, giant monsters like kaiju and like Godzilla and King Kong, alien monsters like the Blob, the Thing, and the Alien from Alien, demonic monsters like Hellraiser or Pennywise or the critters from Critters or demons from Hell, ghost movies like Talk to Me, which is an awesome movie, or 13 Ghosts or The Others, and transformational monsters like Mr. Hyde or the Wolfman. Cool?
Mm-hmm.
And for the purposes of this exercise, I am not including Jurassic Park.
Okay.
All right. So what are the top 5 monster horror movies?
Cloverfield.
No.
Oh.
So not Monster-in-Law, starring Jane Fonda.
Sorry,
and
not
Jennifer
Monster-in-Law.
Lopez? Okay.
Yeah, not Oppenheimer, not Monster-in-Law.
Are there any Godzillas on the list?
There is a Godzilla on the list. Can you name which one?
Godzilla starring Matthew Broderick and Hank Azaria.
No, I'm so sorry.
Godzilla, the one that came out like last decade.
Yeah, so the 2014 Godzilla, which
Kyle
what?
Chandler.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh.
Clear hearts, full eyes. Can't lose, Godzilla.
Okay, so Godzilla 2014 was number 3. Number 3. Oh, by the way, this is worldwide box office. Godzilla for 2014, 529 million.
Okay.
Grossing.
Kong.
Okay.
King Kong is not on the list.
Wow.
He's not on the list. Okay. So we said Ghost. Is Casper? Did Casper starring Devon Sawa make the list?
I'm so sorry. Casper, sorry. Devon Sawa did not make the list.
Okay.
What about... You said no Jurassic Park or Jurassic
Okay, the number
World.
1 movie is a remake of a made-for-TV movie based on a book.
Brian's Song.
I'm so sorry. It is not.
It's a made-for-TV, like The Mummy. Is there a Mummy movie on there?
It is a made-for-TV movie.
Oh,
It is.
It's It in It Chapter 2.
The highest grossing one is It with $702 million.
That's a lot of
grossed.
money.
That's too many people watching clowns.
Ethan, did you say another movie in there?
It Chapter 2?
It Chapter 2 is number 4 with $473 million box office. So we've got number 1 at It. The number 2 movie, I'll give you a clue, was one of the few horror movies to be nominated for Best Picture.
What decade was it in?
In the 90s, and I'll give you a clue, Ghosts.
Oh, Sixth Sense.
Yeah, there you
No.
go. Sixth Sense is number 2, $672 million. So you have It, Sixth Sense, Godzilla, It Chapter 2. What is number 5?
Give me one
I'll give you a clue. It is another movie that got nominated for Best Picture. Arguably one of the greatest horror movies of all time.
Monsters, Inc.?
I'm so sorry. It is not Monsters, Inc.
Oh, The Exorcist?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
There you go.
That tracks.
The Exorcist, $441 million. Number 6, Signs, if you want to include that. But I want to give a special shout out to a movie that I think is number 7 or 8 on this list. Yeah, number 7 was Prometheus. Number 8 is a movie called The Nun. The Nun is number 8 highest grossing horror monster film of all time, beating out all the other Conjuring movies. Let's give it up for James Wan. He rules. Anyway, this is I Need to See That, a podcast about movies. I'm Eli.
I'm Caroline.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Ethan. And today we're talking monster movies. Like I said, that's going to be your classic monsters, your giant monsters, your alien monsters, your demonic monsters, ghosts, and transformational monsters. And I'm really excited to talk about this. We're also going to hear Caroline's review of The Thing, first time she saw The Thing, where her boyfriend, who owned a Blu-ray, went out of his way to buy the 4K. That's how excited he was that Caroline was willing to watch The Thing. This podcast is changing lives.
We love you, boyfriend. We love
you, boyfriend.
We do love him. Bad news, though. He did go to the Best Buy. It lied. They didn't have the 4K, so we had to watch the Blu-ray.
Well, that's upsetting.
I know.
That's an upsetting ending to that story.
I know. But I still watched it.
We're also going to hear Ethan's reluctant... We love you, boyfriend. We're also going to hear Ethan's reluctant review of Double Toil and Trouble, the Olsen Twins' masterpiece. I'm excited to hear Ethan's thoughts on that. But first, Caroline.
Yeah.
Last week, you said one of the reasons you don't watch horror is because there aren't very many female-directed horror films. And I was extremely quick to be like, no, you're wrong. There are so many. Holy crap, you were right. There are not that many female-directed horror films. I have a list of my top 5 and a couple notable ones. And there certainly are a ton of movies out there directed by strong female voices that have horror themes. But there aren't really any director that I would call a true master of horror, meaning they have just a huge library of horror films that they have produced or directed. And it's kind of surprising when I went back. Here are my top 5 female-directed horror films. Number 5, I have Slumber Party Massacre, directed by Amy Holden Jones. I feel like I don't even need to tell you what that movie's about. It's in the title. By the way, my favorite movies, you can very much summarize what the movie is based on the title, which is why I think the movie Ghost Dad is one of the best movies ever made, because it's perfect.
What's that movie about?
Bill Cosby. That's it. Number 4 is the movie Raw, directed by Julia Ducournau. I probably butchered that. It's a French cannibal movie. It's great. Number 3, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, directed by Anna Lily Amirpour. It's an Iranian vampire western. Go out of your way to see that movie.
That sounds amazing.
Number 2, I have a movie called Goodnight Mommy, directed by Veronica Franz. It was just remade, but basically a mom starts wearing all these bandages on her face, and the twin boys don't believe that she's actually their mom. It's a really cool movie. And number 1 is The Babadook, directed by Jennifer Kent. Dope. You should see The Babadook, Caroline.
That's my Babadook impression.
It's not only a demon ghost movie, but it's also a really interesting depiction of grief and anxiety. It's such a good movie.
Okay.
Can I
also, Babadook is a gay icon, to bring it back to something Ethan said off record.
We should do a month on female directors. I feel like I should watch. I'm like looking at Letterboxd right now at like some lists, and I'm embarrassed at how few of these are shaded out because I haven't watched them. So I think that would be a worthy exploration.
Well, I'm thrilled we're giving women a voice on this podcast.
Wait, so shut up, Caroline. Eli, what did you think about my idea?
I'm trying to think of a pun for a month. May we give women voices on this podcast?
Can I ask, and Eli, I'm sorry if this starts like jumping on your new radio essay that you will be doing, but one of the cool things to me about supernatural horror above all the other genres of horror is it feels like the symbolism and the meaning behind it is the most pronounced out of all of the different horror subgenres. Like, these monsters really can stand for something. So these movies can be about communism, or about anxiety, or about grief, or about growing up, or about sex, in a way that, like, gory movies don't necessarily have the same grasp on, or what's the last one that we're... even psychological. Like, psychological is more of a character study, I think. And these, my list, it feels like I can tell you what all of these movies are about and what it's using its monster or its supernatural element to represent in our real world.
I agree, Ethan. I think monster movies and these supernatural movies, more than any other subgenre of horror, really just nail the metaphor on the head, and it's very clear what they represent. Looking at this list and going over a brief history, I see repeated themes of especially repression, where the monsters represent the upper class literally stepping on the lower class, but also clear themes of prejudice, where movies ask the question, who is the real monster? You have the end of King Kong, where they say, "It was beauty that killed the beast." Can I get an applause?
That was a great
That
Jack
pretty.
Black impression. That was so good.
I guess I went with the remake. Or the end of Plan 9 from Outer Space, where the alien says, you see, your stupid minds, stupid. That's my favorite line in all cinema, by the way. It's so good. Terrible movie. But yeah, Ethan, you're right. It's very clear.
And now, my dearly departed friends, we present to you the history of monster movies.
If you listened to last week's show, I gave a brief history of horror. Today I'm gonna focus on monster movies and give a kind of a brief history, but also talk about some of the big names in this genre of horror, which is really the people responsible for the special effects. Okay, but let's start with the history of monster movies. As I said last week, it really all starts with George Méliès with House of the Devil in 1896, which is not only considered the first horror film, it's also considered the first vampire film, which is notable because Bram Stoker's Dracula didn't come out until 1897, so it predated Bram Stoker's Dracula. Thought that was interesting. In 1950, a director named Paul Wagner released Der Golem, based on the old Jewish folklore of the golem. Basically a clay monster. It comes to life and protects Eastern European Jews. But he dies after falling in love with his master's daughter, who rejects him. In 1920, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde comes out, which is transformation horror. And in 1922, Nosferatu comes out. Here's a fun fact about Nosferatu. That word means the undead. And producers of the film originally wanted to make a Bram Stoker's Dracula film, but they didn't want to pay royalties to the Bram Stoker estate. So they made their own vampire movie with just enough changes to clear them of copyright infringement. That's why Nosferatu looks different. That's why the story's a little bit different. I think that's really interesting. In 1925, Universal Horror comes into play with Phantom of the Opera, starring Lon Chaney, who was known as the Man of 1,000 Faces. Everyone knows that image. Personally, when I think of Phantom of the Opera and I'm not thinking of the musical, I think of that face, that Lon Chaney face. Do you know what I'm talking about? That famous monster. After that, in 1927, he did a movie called London After Midnight, where he played a vampire. And if you Google images of that, his face looks so different. Lon Chaney really was the Man of 1,000 Faces. In 1931, Universal Horror started making the movie Dracula, and it was originally supposed to be Lon Chaney playing Dracula, but Lon Chaney died. So they turned to the person who was playing Dracula on stage at the time, whose name was Bela Lugosi. Kind of interesting.
Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi.
In 1931, Universal Horror makes Frankenstein. The person who was supposed to play the monster in Frankenstein was Bela Lugosi, but he didn't want to do it because it wasn't a speaking role. It was below him. So producers went to a different actor named William Henry Prant, whose stage name was Boris Karloff. Anyway, in 1932, they make The Mummy, also starring Boris Karloff. Cool? With me so far?
I'm following.
Following.
It's like a refresh of my history of last week with a little more detail. See what I'm doing? You get my thing? In the late 50s, there's a UK horror production company called Hammer Horror. They realized they could make a ton of money remaking all of those old, original, classic monster movies. Only because they're in the UK, they didn't have to follow the Hays Code. So they could actually have a lot of violence and gore and blood. And these movies have a lot of blood and gore. In 1957, they make The Curse of Frankenstein, starring Peter Cushing as Victor Frankenstein and Christopher Lee as the creature. In 1958, they made The Horror of Dracula, starring Peter Cushing as Van Helsing and Christopher Lee as Count Dracula. In 1959, they make The Mummy, starring Peter Cushing as John Banning and Christopher Lee as the Mummy. Next, they make The Hounds of Baskerville, which they make as a horror, starring Peter Cushing as Sherlock Holmes and Christopher Lee as Sir Henry. By the way, it's very important. This is very important to me that I point this out. Peter Cushing played Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars A New Hope, and Christopher Lee played Count Dooku in all the Star Wars prequels. I just had to point out that
literally means nothing to me.
I know. But go out of your way to see those Hammer horror movies. They're fucking awesome. For real. Ethan, have you seen any of those?
I've seen Star Wars.
Okay, thank you. But you knew Christopher Lee played Dracula. That's pretty famous.
Of course.
Yeah. All right, so in the 1950s, we get giant monster movies. I said the story last week, but basically World War II ends, Oppenheimer made the bomb, Truman dropped it. Nobody knew what the result of atomic warfare will be, so we start to get all these giant monster movies. Here are a few of them. The Killer Shrews, Them, which was the Giant Ants movie, Attack of the 50-Foot Women, which Tim Burton's about to remake, Attack of the 50-Foot Man, a.k.a. The Amazing Colossal Man, Puppet People, which actually reversed it. These are really small people. It's a horrible movie.
No.
Attack of the Crab Monsters, Attack of the Giant Leeches, Attack of the Giant Gila Monster, Earth vs. the Spider, Tarantula, The Cyclops, The Crawling Eye, The Colossus of New York. And then you also have a bunch of alien movies. Ready? The Blob, It Came from Outer Space, The Brain from Planet Eros, Killers from Space, The Day the World Ended, Plan 9 from Outer Space, The War of the Worlds, and The Day the Earth Stood Still. You also, of course, have Godzilla, which is where they coined the phrase kaiju. Have either of you heard that term before, kaiju?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's a Japanese word that refers to monsters and creatures from ancient Japanese legends or folklore, but it's used in cinema to represent giant monster. So a few examples of that is Godzilla, King Kong, Godzilla vs. Kong, all the Godzilla crazy sequels, which there are a ton, such as Terror of Mechagodzilla and Godzilla An Invasion of the Astro Monster. I want to watch all of these. There's Godzilla spin-offs such as Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, Rodan, is that it? And Son of Godzilla, which is a fascinating movie. And then there's a movie, I need to highlight this. There's a movie called Pulgasari. Have you ever heard of this? All right, buckle up, Ethan. It's a 1985 North Korean movie produced by Kim Jong-il. Background. Kim Jong-il was a huge fan of kaiju movies. So what did he do? He abducted the director, Shin Sang-ok, and his wife, and threw them in jail for 5 years, released them and reunited them in order to get them to film propaganda movies. One of those propaganda movies was Pulgasari, which is a giant kaiju movie, which he considered a metaphor for the effects of unchecked capitalism and the power of the collective. Later
Make
on,
that movie. Make that movie, Hollywood. Make that movie.
later
Yeah.
on, here's the ending of the movie. They take Shinseng Okay and his wife take a movie to a film festival in Austria, where they basically faked they had to go to the bathroom, escaped the film festival, and fled to
Oh
the
my
U.S. Embassy.
God.
Oh my
I
God.
know.
Make that movie. That is a fucking great movie.
I'm sure someone has the rights to it. They have to.
I think he's still alive. I think the director's still alive.
Who would you want to make that movie? Like suspenseful, tense about
Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele.
Jordan, yeah.
Or because you can play with kaiju cinema in it. How about Guillermo del Toro?
Yeah,
A lover
Del
of
Toro.
film who has made a kaiju movie in Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll throw out another name, actually. Bong Joon-ho, who made...
I was about to say, yeah.
He made The Host, which is another kaiju movie. And fun fact, in South Korea, The Host was such a big deal that they have a giant statue of The Host in South Korea. It's really cool. You should Google it.
I love that.
I know. Monster movies are heavy on special effects, so let's talk about the people responsible for those special effects. This is how I'm going to end my history of monster movies, okay? Here we go. Here's a name. Willis H. O'Brien. He's considered the grandfather of visual effects in monster movies. He was born in 1886. He grew up in California and got super into dinosaurs. And he got a knack for sculpting things out of clay. He ended up teaming up with a newsreel cameraman to film an experimental film using clay sculpture of a dinosaur and a clay sculpture of a caveman, which led to, in 1915, he was hired to direct a movie, and this movie's called The Dinosaur and the Missing Link, A Prehistoric Tragedy. And then he gets hired to work on movies. In 1925, he makes The Lost World, which is just a revolutionary film. If you've ever seen The Lost World, it's claymation or stop motion dinosaurs and then real life people in the foreground. It's remarkable. And then in 1933, he's hired to make a very small, tiny little film. You might have heard of it, called King fucking Kong. This is the guy who did the claymation for King Kong, Willis H. O'Brien. Then he did Son of Kong. Then he did The Beast of Hollow Mountain. He gets a story credit on King Kong vs. Godzilla. And then in 1949, he works on a movie called Mighty Joe Young. Willis H. O'Brien is a name everyone should know.
Okay.
Go off, King Kong.
Ugh.
Good. I thought that was great. Oh, that was great.
That hurt me.
Yeah, that's
All right.
amazing.
Do you know who else worked on Mighty Joe Young in 1949?
Charlize Theron. Oh,
Charlize Theron.
nice. Nice.
In 1949, somebody else working on the special effects is a young man named Ray Harryhausen. Okay? Ray Harryhausen then goes on to do the visual effects in 1953's The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. 1955, It Came from Beneath the Sea. 1956, Earth vs. the Flying Saucers. 1957, 20 Million Miles from Earth. And then he becomes Ray Harryhausen. He does Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. He does Jason and the Argonauts. He does Clash of the Titans. And in 1998, he is the VFX consultant on a movie called Mighty Joe Young, starring Charlize Theron.
Wow, it all goes back to Charlize Theron.
She is truly the
You know who else?
Kevin Bacon
You know who did the...
of Mighty Joe Young movies.
Well, you know who did the makeup on Mighty Joe Young in 1998?
Who?
A man by the name of Rick Baker, who in 1972 did the special effects of The Thing with Two Heads. And in 1973 did the special effects for a tiny little movie, you might have heard of it, called The Fucking Exorcist. He also did special effects on the 1976 King Kong remake. And then he also did makeup on The Howling, An American Werewolf in London, Harry and the Hendersons, the remake of Planet of the Apes, the Benicio del Toro The Wolfman. This man, Rick Baker, is also responsible for the Nutty Professor movies. That's right, this guy made The Clumps, and then later on he also made Norbit,
I was about to
and
say.
he also made the Jim Carrey The Grinch.
The Oscar-nominated for makeup, Norbit.
Norbit.
Yep, Rick Baker. But really, in terms of horror, I'll always think of Rick Baker when I think of An American Werewolf in London. That transformation scene is remarkable. Now I want to talk about somebody named Stan Winston. Do you know who Stan Winston is?
No,
No.
I do not.
Here are the movies he did the special effects for: The Terminator, T2, T3, Invaders from Mars, Aliens, Predator, and Predator 2. A small movie called The Monster Squad, which rules. He did the live-action dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. He worked on the movie Congo. Note, that's not Mighty Joe Young, but hey, another giant monkey movie. He did a special shout-out here. He did the special effects on Galaxy Quest, one of my favorite movies of all time. He also did the special effects on a movie called AI, Artificial Intelligence. He did makeup on The Thing, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, Interview with the Vampire, and The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Wow.
So he was in charge of live-action dinosaurs on Jurassic Park, but there was another person who was a dinosaur supervisor on Jurassic Park, and his name is Phil Tippett. Here are the movies Phil Tippett did special effects on. Star Wars, A New Hope, and Empire Strikes Back. He did the claymation for the chess pieces, and then he also did the miniature work for those things in Empire Strikes Back. I don't know the name, sorry nerds. In 1978, he worked on a movie called Piranha. He worked on RoboCop. He worked on Tremors 2, Aftershock, Starship Troopers, The Haunting, Evolution, which is a movie I used to love. He did pretty much all the Twilight movies. In 2021, he basically vanished from the public and just held up in his basement making his own claymation movie, which came out in 2021 called Mad God, which is a bonkers, insane movie if you haven't seen that. And then if you watch the TV show Poker Face, there's that episode with Nick Nolte where he's basically playing Phil Tippett. But in that you see like a series of claymation movies that the Nick Nolte character made. That's actually made by Phil Tippett. So that's where I'm wrapping up my history of monster movies. Because really monster movies are all about the people who made them, and I just listed some masters: William H. O'Brien, Ray Harryhausen, Rick Baker, Stan Winston, and Phil Tippett.
Wow, that was a mash. A monster mash.
He did a mash.
A mash. He did a monster mash.
Eli, that was really good. Great job.
That was amazing.
Thank you. So now, Ethan, it is time for us to give our top 5 monster movies.
Cool.
Do you want to start?
Sure. Number 5 for me is The Vavitch. Some people call it The Witch by Robert Eggers. I call it The Vavitch because there are 2 V's on that poster. I thought this movie was really scary. Anya Taylor-Joy's eyes are so far apart on her head, and it makes that young puritanical girl very scary. And this movie invented ASMR, right? With Black Phillip, the devil goat.
I love the way they talk in that movie. He did a lot of research on like how they would have spoken back then. I know some audience members were like, "What am I watching?" He also did that in The Lighthouse, but I love The Witch.
Me too.
Or The Vavitch.
Wait,
The Veitch.
here, let's see if Caroline, have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
I'll actually say that this is not the scariest movie. Like, all of my other ones are much scarier. This is not a very scary movie, but it is really interesting. It's really well shot, and it's just unsettling. And wait, let me try. Does thou want to live deliciously? How'd I do?
Ethan, you're a really good actor, Ethan.
Thank
Oh my
you.
God.
Wow.
That's so good.
Okay, what's your number 5?
A movie that Caroline has seen, Godzilla -1.
Wow.
I know there might be recency bias here. I've seen a lot of Godzilla movies. I haven't seen them all. There's too many to see. I think Godzilla -1 is the best Godzilla movie. You know my favorite genre is movie that is one thing and turns out to be another thing.
Right.
This is a very slow, quiet war drama, and then there's a Godzilla there.
Did you
It
see?
is so good.
Did you see it in black and white, or did you see it in color?
I saw it, but I first saw it in color,
Okay.
and then I recently saw it in black and white.
I only saw it in black and white, and I walked into this movie not knowing what to expect, and I think the only movie I cried at more this year was Past Lives.
Ethan, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Carrie by Brian De Palma, Sissy Spacek. I think that this movie is just really scary. And I think that with all of my supernatural horror movies, I don't have any James Wan movies or movies that are like big jump scary movies. I think it's a lot of just dread and slow burn until it really hits its stride and you're in such like a depressed, dark place that those scares work really well on you. And I think that Carrie is a great example of that. It's just I rewatched it this Halloween and just found myself thinking about it for weeks after. It's a really well done, scary movie. Like a great 70s horror scary movie.
Great movie.
Caroline, have you seen it?
I've seen most of it, and it's a musical that really has gone under the radar.
That was my follow-up. Did you see the musical?
Yeah. It has great songs. I can't remember who wrote the musical, though. I'll look it up.
My number 4 is Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Hellraiser is an incredible, like, I kind of want to say my number 4 is not just Hellraiser 1. It's the entire Hellraiser series. I texted with Ethan about Hellraiser a while ago, and he asked me what my top 5 Cenobites are.
So the ridiculous, like, if you don't know what Hellraiser is, like, and you just heard that was a thing I texted you out of context, what a ridiculous thing. This is a ridiculous movie.
Number 5, The Doctor. Number 4, Hellraiser 3's CD Head. Number 3, Pinhead from the new female Pinhead from the remake. Number 2, the original Pinhead, and number 1, Butterball. Hey, Caroline, do me a favor. Google image search Cenobites.
Okay, is this what I'm looking at?
Yes.
Yeah, those are the Cenobites.
Oh, they went to Hot Topic. Good for them.
Yeah, I guess Hellraiser is like Hot Topic chic.
Yeah.
It's a crazy movie.
All of them. All right, Ethan, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Hereditary. I never felt worse coming out of a movie than Hereditary. And it's anytime someone clicks their tongue, I run. I just run.
So there's something beautiful here, which is a lot of these subgenres can blend into each other. I have Hereditary on my psychological horror list, but you can make an argument for either. I am a different human being after seeing Hereditary than I was before seeing Hereditary.
It's a movie that within its own like micro subgenres is one thing, and then it becomes another thing, and then it becomes another thing. It's
It's rare that a movie actually legitimately scares me, and Hereditary actually legitimately scared me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My number 3 is a transformation horror movie, The Fly.
Yeah.
The 1986 movie. Jeff Goldblum.
Daddy.
Fly Daddy. Caroline, have you seen The Fly, the remake, the Jeff Goldblum?
I've seen clips of him as a fly.
Okay. It's a really good movie. That's it. That's all I want to say about it. It's really good. It's really gross. It's a gross movie. It's a gross out, gross Cronenberg
flies
movie.
are gross.
But my pick's The Fly. Pour one out for Brundlefly.
Love Brundlefly.
Ethan, what's your number 2?
My number 2, already mentioned earlier, is The Exorcist. I think that Pazuzu is just an all-timer. Just an all-timer.
My number 2 is a movie we already mentioned, The Host. Bong Joon-ho's The Host. Incredible movie. I'm not going to say anything else about it. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Bong Joon-ho. That's what the month of June will be.
Oh, that works.
Although, I think we're doing June Williams.
We had June
anyway.
Williams. next year. 2025 can be Bong Joon-ho.
Bong Joon.
2026
Oh.
is June Squibb.
Ethan, do you have any special call-outs before we get to number one?
Yeah, a couple that I wanted to call out. Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland. A Quiet Place from the imagination of John Krasinski. Caroline. Nightmare on Elm Street is a really good movie. I don't know what happened with all of the many sequels, but the first one's really good. Rosemary's Baby, the original Blair Witch, Alien is definitely a good one. Oh, The Mist. Have you seen The Mist, Eli?
Yeah, best ending in movie history.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also had The Fly.
What was
but
the movie you said before? What was the movie you said before The Mist? Oh, you said Alien. That was the one. Huh.
Oh, yeah, Alien.
I don't like Alien. I think it's a horrible movie.
Really?
Hot takes.
You don't
I'll
like
keep going.
Alien? Okay, but my number one supernatural horror movie, which I think Eli might not appear on your list because it'll appear on your psychological horror list, is The Shining. Whenever I tell people what movie I wish I could watch for the first time again, I always pick The Shining. I have never been more scared in my life. Watching it, even when you know it's going to happen, is still very scary. I love The Shining. Go watch The Shining if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, The Shining rules.
Yeah, it rules.
Good pick. My special call-outs, the original Frankenstein from 1931. We talk about it a lot, but I actually rewatched it kind of recently. It's a masterpiece. It's incredible. I mentioned earlier An American Werewolf in London from 1981 is great. The Blob from 1958 and 1988. The Howling, which is an underrated werewolf movie from 1981. Session 9, which is a ghost film from 2001. That movie was filmed in the Danvers State Mental Hospital. I used to pass that hospital, which is abandoned, every day on my way to high school. So that movie scared the everything out of me. And then I have a couple of monster comedies, Little Shop of Horrors, the musical from 1986, and Monster Squad from 1987. But my number one is Alien. Of course I like Alien. It's my number one. What's wrong with you? You think I don't like Alien?
I was like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's my number one. And note, it was between Alien and Aliens, and I actually put Aliens as more of an action movie than a horror movie.
Same.
And I absolutely put the first Alien as a horror movie.
100% Aliens would be on my top list, but I also agreed it's an action movie.
Have you seen Alien, Carolyn?
I actually had to watch it for a film class in college, and I remember all the professor talked about was, wow, this is a vagina, this is a womb, this is a vagina, this is a womb. I was like, wow, okay, all right, that's Alien.
For the record, I do that with any movie I watch.
Yeah, I figured.
How'd you do that with Ghost Dad? Can you point out the vaginas and wombs in Ghost Dad?
Those are our top monster movies. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Email us at ineedtosee.thatpod@gmail.com or visit us at ineedtosee.that.com. And now the music cue. Caroline, you watched The Thing.
I did.
Tell us everything.
Well, could I say a movie that probably would have been on both of our top 5 lists had we not asked you to watch it?
Last week.
Because I think the Thing would definitely be in my top 5.
Yeah, I texted Ethan and said, hey, we can't put The Thing on. It would be my number one.
It'd be my
Okay.
number 2.
That makes sense. Well, okay, here's what I'll say. I think it's really brave that 8 men were in a room together and not one of them decided they wanted to be on an improv team. And I thought that was incredible. Incredible film, not one man.
There is a zip zap zop in the deleted scenes, but
I figured. No, I really loved it. I really, really, really liked it a lot. I thought The Thing really reminded me of the alien in Independence Day. And it made me think, I was like, wow, Kurt Russell, could he be the president in Independence Day? And could Bill Pullman be Kurt Russell in The Thing? I don't know. What do we think?
I don't
He
think
doesn't
Bill
have the
Pullman,
hair. Doesn't have the hair.
Bill Pullman couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Needs the hair.
Yeah. I know. He's got very piercing blue eyes in this movie. It's very hard to look away from them. And I really liked it. I thought it was interesting. I learned about, okay, what were my things that I took notes on? It's wild that Ennio Morricone was nominated for a Razzie for the score. And then he ended up using the leftover music from this score for The Hateful Eight and won the Oscar for it.
How cool is that? How cool is
Wow.
that?
Is that
didn't know
nuts?
that.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was nuts because I was like, the score is actually amazing. So I can't imagine why you would give a Razzie to that. It's wild. It came out the same day as Blade Runner, and
Wow.
that E.T. came out weeks before that. So The Thing bombed. She was a bomb. It makes sense to me that because it came out in 1982. Is that right? That basically this is like a metaphor for AIDS.
Yep.
With like
Yep. Yep.
with like the blood and like
Absolutely.
how it's transforming everyone. I was like, I think that is super, super interesting. I really loved it, and I think I guess and then okay, because I was doing some more research on do you think they both are the Thing at the end? Or is it Childs, or is it Kurt Russell, or both, or like one or neither?
Yeah, I think that's my favorite part of the movie is that you don't know, and it goes back to that theme I brought up before, which is who is the real monster? Is it the monster itself, or is it the paranoia around being the monster?
Yeah,
I think it's cool.
John Carpenter did say though, in some interview, he said he doesn't understand how there could be ambiguity, because the last scene shows Kurt Russell and Keith David staring each other down, harshly backlit. It's completely glaringly obvious that Kurt Russell's breathing and Keith David is not.
Oh.
Caroline, can I ask you a question? The entire time you were watching the movie, did your boyfriend watch the movie or stare at you?
I think it was a mix. It was like 50-50 because I did look over. I was like, why are you staring at me? I was,
Sometimes it's not about watching the movie. It's about watching the reaction of your close partner.
and to see
And I
how they
get that.
feel. I know. I'll see how he feels about that when we see The Parent Trap in theaters on February 17th. But I did read, also it's funny we're talking about Alien. John Carpenter wanted to do The Thing like this because he didn't like the alien in Alien, because it's a man in a alien suit in Alien for the special effects.
Is it? So, that's interesting.
Yeah,
It's a man in suit?
I think so. I was like reading trivia on The Thing before this. So I think so John Carpenter hated the alien in Alien, and he wanted to really improve upon that.
Oh,
with
yes,
The
that was
Thing.
Man in Suit. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you said there was a man in suit in The Thing. I was like, wait, what?
No. An Alien in Thing that's not man in suit. Yeah. Yeah. The special effects on The Thing is wild.
Well, I'm so happy you liked it, Caroline.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I thank you for making me watch it. I really loved it. There was another fun trivia I read. I think it's like the British Antarctica Station. They watch it together every May.
It is now that time of our show where we make Ethan watch a movie he absolutely does not want to see. This week, Caroline and me, actually it was a partner, forced Ethan's hand to watch the Olsen Twins' epic masterpiece, Double Toil and Trouble, also starring the Leech, Cloris Leachman. Ethan, how did that go?
This movie is horrifying. If you choose to watch this as like a prequel to Mulholland Drive, you will just be fully put on edge the entire time. It is so uncomfortably shot, and like the people in this town are so off-putting. Oh God, it was a tough watch. It was a tough watch.
Can you
What's
write
the
us the
plot?
plot? Yeah.
The plot is there's like a nondescript town in America, and Mary-Kate and Ashley are twins named some other names, and their family is down on their luck with money, and their father is Will from Will and Grace. And they visit, the day before Halloween, they visit an aunt who used to be a twin, but her other twin has disappeared, and they find out that the still alive twin is an evil witch who has access to the Moonstone, and that allowed her to have magic powers. There's also a magic wand at some point. And then the twins decide that they're going to steal the Moonstone from Cloris Leachman's witch, and they find out that the twin is actually trapped in a mirror, and so they have to save the twin to help, who will give her parents a loan so they don't get kicked out of their house. And they do. That's the end. They do.
How many notes did you take?
I took 31 notes.
31 notes. Okay. I would like to hear note number 1.
My prediction is there will be 0 true Macbeth references, and I was correct.
What's number 6 for 666?
Number 6. Holy shit, Cloris Leachman is an actual witch?
Love it.
Love it. Number 13.
Number 13. Cloris Leachman is going at an 11 out of 10, but not in a children's movie kind of way.
Number 18.
Number 18. Is this random man under a bridge British? Where are we in the world?
23.
Number 23. They took a ridiculous clown car to a witch's seance.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. 29.
29. There's a long scene without the Olsen twins, and it's really creepy.
31.
Will from Will and Grace killed mean Cloris Leachman.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Because then they switched her, so they took the good twin out of the mirror, they put the bad twin in the mirror, and then Will runs through the mirror.
Mm-hmm. So who do you think is the better actor, Mary-Kate or Ashley?
Elizabeth Olsen is the only correct answer, obviously.
This was me quickly Googling if Cloris Leachman ever appeared on Will and Grace. She did not. Thank you, Ethan. I'm happy you like that movie. I feel like we've been giving you pretty fun, good movies. Next week, of course, we are talking about my favorite subject, my favorite subgenre of horror. We're doing gore, which will include slasher films. Hey, Caroline, gore. Which will include...
Her eyes are closed.
Slasher films, torture porn, video nasties, and of course, Al Gore.
And Leslie Gore.
So Ethan, I did what any good friend would do, and I Googled worst slasher film ever made. And I came up with this. When a professor specializing in ancient rites and rituals is attacked and his family killed by 4 of his students, he summons an evil spirit to hunt down the attackers and avenge his family. This is Meat Cleaver Massacre from 1976.
Incredible. I
hope you enjoy that.
What am I watching?
Okay, so Ethan, let's talk for real. And Caroline, if you've seen any of these movies, let us know.
Okay.
To me, Ethan, when I think of the genre, there are 2 movies that come into mind immediately. Number 1 is Halloween, and number 2 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes. I think that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and we'll probably be talking about both these movies next week on our list. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is truly disturbing, and Halloween is quite enjoyable.
And
it is scary.
And it stars Kyle Richards of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Whoa.
Does it?
Yes, she's a child actor in it. Yes, because she and her sisters, because Kim Richards was also in Escape from Witch Mountain. Kathy Hilton, I can't remember what she's been in, but Kyle, that's why, because she came back. That's why Kyle Richards had bad bangs like 3 seasons ago on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because she was in the new, was it Halloween Kills? I haven't seen any of them, but I know them because of Kyle Richards. And then Jamie Lee Curtis guested on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills last year trying to hawk her wind chimes because of Kyle Richards.
Okay, I think we have our answer. I think it has to be Halloween.
Yeah, it's Halloween.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Great.
Halloween.
I'm
You know what would be
excited.
amazing if we get through all of this and we've only made Caroline watch John Carpenter movies.
Oh, he directed
Yeah.
this too? Oh, exciting.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
You
Amazing.
did. I text us when your boyfriend hears that you have to watch Halloween now, and text
love
us
you,
again when
boyfriend.
he
Oh, he
goes
watches
out.
Housewives.
We love you,
He'll be
boyfriend.
thrilled.
Text us again when he goes out to buy the 4K of Halloween just for this.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. I'm very excited for next week. Oh, we're already doing the song. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Please remember to write, review, subscribe. Remember to do the Monster Mash. Thank you to our 68% female identifying audience, our 29.8% male identifying audience, our 2.1% not specified audience. Thank you to our listeners in Belgium, Ireland, Norway, and the United States. Email us.
Fingers crossed for Australia.
Fingers crossed for Australia. And as always,
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. Nope.
Ethan loves Bill Cosby too.
I do not. This is unreal. How did this become the bit?
You see? Your stupid minds. Stupid!